one of the big inspirations of that idea for me was Jalaluddin Rumi, who
Oh,
I
yeah.
first started reading seriously, actually, in New York City, where we first met, Frank. Because we always talk about Binghamton, New York,
Yes,
where
yes.
we got to know each other more. But we met in New York City, and we
That's
were
right.
graduate students there in an even more impossible situation than what we found in Binghamton.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it was one of our colleagues who bought me this Best of Rumi volume, hardcover, in one of the little street markets outside of NYU.
Oh, awesome. I remember that area.
Yeah, so just near Washington Square.
Yeah, I love Washington Square Park. Yep.
And so Rumi was a great poet before actually a lot of the love poetry. The love poetry came after he faced a major loss in his life. And this was a story that really only came through to me by the Turkish students that we studied
Oh,
with
yeah.
in Binghamton. So this is very much talked about in Turkey, but you don't see it written down anywhere. Rumi had a great friend called Shams, and one day Shams disappeared. No explanation, nothing was ever known about what happened to him. So he dropped out of nowhere, and he also disappeared into nowhere. And it is at that time that Jalaluddin Rumi started to really grapple with the idea of loss and the larger love as the ultimate solution. So let me see. I do have one of his quotes.
Yes. Let's see if
Well, where it? Yeah, it's in here,
I
right? It's
think
in
I
29
think I noted it.
Leads.
It's on page 4.
Oh, right. Okay. So I actually had a text that I wrote, more like a prose piece, to do what you asked about earlier, the thematic discussion of this book. And
Mm-hmm.
a great review that came through the publisher suggested I get rid of that essay.
Oh, no.
and that, you know, let the readers get to that core
Oh, well,
themselves.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's the openness I'm striving for. And so the only thing I kept from that little essay is these quotes from other poets, and they kind of mark the different sections of the book. I don't know if you picked that up when you read it, but you
Well,
definitely
what I
picked up the quotes.
yes, yes, absolutely. But what I love is about that is you are noting what was there long before us and what will remain long after us, and you are part of a chain of those who have noted it. And so you sprinkle in how this is a current that has flowed and will continue to flow for eons. And
Mm-hmm.
it's we're simply discussing today's fingers pointing at it rather than trying to make a argument that this is a new discovery.
This is new. Yeah, yeah. So the way that Jalaluddin Rumi frames it in the Mathnawi, what seems most to exist is just the skin of something which seems not to exist, but is the source. And I liked the way you made a link with that line and science fiction. Can you talk a bit about that? Because I don't know if that's a common reading of science fiction.
Oh yeah, there's a particular series of science fiction movies that I'm a very large fan of, the Matrix, where they basically, the premise is we are ruled by a system that we cannot see, and agents who do not appear to us in their actual forms, and are they weave a delusion that helps them continue to pull off this rulership. It's much more of an enduring system of rulership when we are not clear on where the boot is on our neck. And so what I love about Rumi's quote is his reference of the source. And in so many schools of thought, science fiction being one of them, there's a quest to identify falsehood and key in on core truth and reach that kernel of base truth. And some phrase this as the source, aka the source of truth, the source of all things, the source of life. And they make references to this in these movies as well. And it's a common source. And so at a certain point in these movies, you can interpret what they're showing you as the revelation that the common source that births and sustains life feeds the oppressed and the oppressors, and is the fuel that even creates the system where the oppressed oppress, or the oppressors oppress those who are oppressed. And so Rumi's touching of the sources, this is what matters most. And perhaps him, it may be that love that really elevated for him through the distance of loss of Shamj. And it's something that continues to move more and more towards the center of what I see as I take these later chapters in my life journey and see others taking their earlier chapters in the same journey. And so so much that is not the source, which in this case I'll phrase as big love, pales and seems unreal or not worthy of the label of real compared to that eternal source.
And the thing I should add about Shamsh and Rumi, in the Turkish rendition of the story, they were lovers. So
I've heard, yeah.
Right. So Rumi lost his one and only true love, but something that he had long been writing about before that was a love of Allah. It actually came home to him as something much more concrete and yet intangible than the religious sort of love and faith that he wrote about so much prior in a very theoretical kind of unfeeling form.
Yeah, what a great observation. So much in life is like that. There's for instance, I share such an affinity with people who are sensuality seekers or drug takers or pleasure chasers, because some of the things that we try and key in on as human beings, we intuit through several levels of abstraction. You know, some people can see God in a sunrise. but there's also the reflection of God or big love when two pairs of arms wrap around you and you get a big kiss on your face, right? And so those two are a reflection of the same thing. And if you're trying to really touch it, feel it, understand it, one seems more distant and fuzzy. The other one seems more immediate and concrete. And so I hesitate to grade people's quests in life because I think we're all chasing something very similar.
Now that makes me want to read a poem which touches on that angle of the notion of love.
Excellent.
This is about a place in the north of South Africa, which I've never been to, but have been reading a lot about and researching. It's relatively less touched than the part of South Africa where I live, in Johannesburg, Gauteng, the most industrialized province, you could say. And this is a poem about Vembe in Limpopo province, which does have its share of mining, but only in some parts so far. And it is, it's kind of mythologized, but also the source of a lot of art, past and present. So I long to go there. And in the meantime, I've been researching and came up with this poem, which I try to read whenever I can, especially in this city, Johannesburg, where nobody really taps into this kind of beauty and love, I think, very often. On Love 16. Take me to Vembe, inundated with life, bearing carvers, poets, painters, singers. Lap me into Vembe veins, Shashe, Limpopo, Lake Fundudzi, Chatishingo, Mukumbani. Fly me, Vembe sky, 500 types of treetops, 200 breeds of butterflies, gray-crowned crane, white-backed vultures, Cape vultures, steppe eagles, bateleurs. Chant me, O Vembe spirits, white Ntate, Dza, Sialala, Muchindudi, Tate, Vondo, San art of rocks. Take me to Vembe, take me, Vembe, take me beyond, before we take you.